The city roared around Ethan like a storm he could never escape. Deadlines, arguments, endless noise. He felt like his mind was drowning in thoughts he couldn't control. One night, after a breakdown he couldn't hide anymore, Ethan booked a bus to a mountainside monastery he found online. He didn't know what he hoped to find, only that he needed peace more than anything he had ever wanted. When he arrived, an elderly monk named Master Kyle greeted him with a warm smile. "You look tired," he said gently. Ethan nodded. "I can't make my mind quiet. It feels like I'm carrying the weight of the world." Kyle simply said, "Then sit. Life will teach you when you're ready." The next morning, Master Kyle handed Ethan a small gray pebble. "Carry this with you," the monk said. Ethan looked confused. "What does it do?" Kyle smiled. "When you understand, you won't need to ask." Ethan wanted deep wisdom, a mantra, a meditation technique. But instead, a pebble? Still, he placed it in his pocket and followed the monk through the monastery. Hours passed. The pebble felt tiny, yet Ethan kept feeling it. During meditation, it dug into his thigh. While walking, it bounced annoyingly. During meals, he worried it might fall. At night, he kept checking to make sure he hadn't lost it. The pebble became a constant distraction. Small, dull, but always there. Finally, frustrated, Ethan confronted Kyle. "This pebble is driving me crazy. Why do I have to carry it?" Kyle simply said, "Because it is no heavier than the thoughts you carry, and yet you focus on it more than your breath." Ethan froze. A week later, Ethan reached his limit. He was sitting by the waterfall, clutching the pebble angrily. "Why can't I find peace?" he shouted. "Why is my mind a storm every second? Why can't I be free?" The monk walked to him slowly. Kyle asked, "What are you truly holding?" Anger rose in Ethan's chest. "My worries, my past, my failures, my fears, my guilt, everything." Kyle nodded. "And are they bigger than this pebble?" Ethan didn't answer. He was breathing too hard. Kyle lifted Ethan's clenched hand. "Open your palm." Ethan hesitated, then slowly released his grip. The pebble sat softly in his hand. Small, harmless, insignificant. Kyle whispered, "You hold your worries tighter than this pebble, and like the pebble, they grow heavier only because you refuse to let them go." Ethan stared at the pebble. Kyle continued, "You are suffering not because life is heavy, but because you are gripping life too tightly." The wind blew through the trees. A calmness Ethan hadn't felt in years touched his heart. Kyle looked at Ethan kindly. "When thoughts come, you try to fight them. When pain rises, you try to bury it. When fear arrives, you try to run." The monk pointed at the pebble. "Peace comes not from control, but from release." Ethan felt something melt inside him. Pain he had carried for years, loosening like knots finally untying. Slowly, he stood. Then, for the first time since he arrived, Ethan gently threw the pebble into the waterfall. It vanished instantly. He exhaled deeply, as if he had thrown his burdens with it. In the days that followed, Ethan felt lighter. He woke with ease, he breathed with awareness, he meditated without fighting himself. He still had thoughts, still had emotions, still had worries, but now he didn't cling to them. Every time a dark thought appeared, he imagined the pebble in his palm and let it go. Before Ethan left the monastery, he asked Master Kyle, "What changed me?" Kyle smiled. "You changed yourself. I only showed you what you were carrying." Ethan bowed deeply, gratitude filling his soul. As he walked down the mountain, he left with no pebble in his pocket, only a simple truth. The mind becomes peaceful, not when it is empty, but when it is free. And he felt free.